the accelerated SAP ASAP methodology, the ASAP phases and deliverables. In this video, we will explain the ASAP phases and deliverables in the ASAP methodology in details. The video is divided into the following topics: the ASAP implementation phases, the key deliverables of each ASAP phase. So let's first look at the ASAP implementation phases. So we already mentioned this in the previous lessons, that there are 6 phases, and the last one is changed in the newest version from run to operate, as well as the project preparation is the phase where you will be doing the proposal and the solutioning in case you are bidding a project, or in case that you have a business case need to create a business case for starting up and justifying your project. That's all in the project preparation phase, according to the SAP ASAP methodology. So as we get through the phases, we will get through final preparation, and just before the go live and support, we will have the go live itself, marked here with the red star. So each phase, we start off with initiation. So this is where we kick off the phase. We have a kickoff meeting with the team. We prepare the phase, deliverables, the schedule, and so on. So there is an initiation step as we start each phase, and we end each phase doing a review. As per the ASAP methodology, we will be doing a quality gate review, and there is a checklist for what that review needs to address. So this is the start and the end of each phase, and this trend repeats throughout each phase. So each phase starts with its own initiation and finish with its own review. Now ideally, one phase have to complete before the next phase can start. Practically and in reality, there might be an overlap. So here is where we use our work breakdown structure. We use our milestones to define what are the criteria and the major achievement before you can move into the next phase. So these are the steps that ensure that we start and end each phase. Now there is one exception, and the exception is around the go live. So around the go live, we need to have an additional step, and that is we need to make a go live decision. And for that, there is a go live assessment, readiness assessment, and then there will be a go live formal decision. Are we go for go live or not? So these are the major activities that starts and end each phase, each of the 6 phases. So if we look at the deliverables of each of the phases, so first the standard implementation. There are 6 phases, and if you count in the work breakdown structure, you will see that the number of deliverables are as indicated here. So there are in project preparation, there's 25 deliverables. 13 is what SAP, the ASAP methodology says should be mandatory, and 12 is depending on the nature of the project. Likewise in Blueprint, 16 mandatory, 6 optional. Realization is the most work heavy, where 20 mandatory deliverables as well as 17 optional. Again, here it depends on what is the design, what are you going to build. Final preparation 9-11, go live and support 5-5, and then the operate, you will notice the star, and we will explain the star in a little while. So if we then look at the agile approach, so it's the same phases, the same name of the phase, but you will have the mandatory optional deliverables a little different. So you will have 11, 12, 16, 6, 20, 16, 9, 11, 5, 5. So you see that it's almost the same. And the only difference in the standard and the agile is the approach that you take to get it built, to get the design and get it built. You are using the agile process to do so. But the deliverables itself that you need to go through, the analysis, the documentations, so on, is the same, as you can see, pretty much. So this is the number of deliverables. Now what about the stars? So let's first highlight the work heavy ones. So blueprint and realization is where you have the most heavy number of deliverables. This is the most busiest phases. So you really don't want to get behind on your blueprint, and you don't want to skip corners going into realization without a solid design that is signed off, as you might end up never being able to end your build. The build phase and the blueprint are also the longest time-wise, and the realization phase, depending on how much you need to customize, configure, and build, this might be very long. So back to the star in the operate phase. So there are 23 activities that SAP outlines should be activities and tasks that is going to happen in the operate phase. Now, there is no mandatory deliverable specified, because it really comes down to you how you're going to operate. Are you going to use the SAP framework, or are you going to do outsources to an operation provider, etc.? So here is some flexibility in the methodology for you to choose what is going to be the right design for your operate phase. The methodology will still support that you can go through and you can understand what are the tasks and deliverables that needs to be done by whoever is going to do it. So all of that is specified in the methodology. So let's go through some of the more detail of each of the deliverables. So let's first look at the project preparation. So the project preparation phase, we will explain the deliverables in 3 categories here. We will explain the purpose of the phase itself, the deliverables, as well as the milestone and key decisions that needs to happen in the phase. So purpose. The project preparation is the initial planning and preparation phase. This is where you define the project goals, scope, and objectives. And it's also where you onboard and train your team members. Now, the second bullet, define the project goals, scope, and the objectives, can be quite comprehensive if you have to build the business case and you need to get approval around starting the project. The deliverables is also a lot. Now, this list of deliverables is a summary of the overall deliverables in each phase. This is the key ones highlighted. So we need to define the project scope. We need to have that defined. We need to have an implementation plan and rollout strategy. We need to have detailed scope documents, cost and benefit validation of our business case. How are we going to validate it? Project standards, project infrastructure. This is for the project team to operate. Knowledge transfer approach. How do we get the teams trained to start and undertake this project? Implementation work plans for each track, for each member. Master data design, interface list, testing strategy, and data cleansing strategy. So it's mainly strategy work, scoping, and planning. Milestones and key decisions. So we need to make sure that we have the corporate funding and support. So there might be corporate review that needs to be completed in order to start the project. We need to have the scope defined. The project team needs to be staffed, trained. There needs to be clear responsibilities. We need to agree on where we're going to work. There needs to be facilities to allow the people to work and the location we choose. Then we need rollout plan. How are we going to roll it out? Is there any constraints? Are we running? What is the if it's a financial part of SAP we implementing, what is the financial calendar? If it's manufacturing, logistics, what is the peak seasons? What are the constraints? We need to know that early on. So when we do the detailed planning later on, we know the constraints. Policies for to be finance organization. Is there existing policies? What is the local legal requirements, etc.? So all of that we need to collect in this phase. System retirement, objective mandates, constraints. Are there certain systems that this project using SAP is going to replace? How are we going to get it replaced? What is the constraint that this system will disappear, or this system will only be available at a certain time, and we need to interface with it so we know that when we do our planning. Training, is there any budget and approach? Does it have to be e-learning? Is that the company approach? Is there a specific budget that we need to adhere to? So anything we need when we go into detailed design of the training. Then we need to also start communicate. So we need to know the key stakeholders for communication. We need to have those identified, and we need to have a initial communication plan in place. And all of that is going to be documented in the implementation plan. So this is the snapshot, high level of the project preparation phase. As we go into the blueprint, which is the second phase, we are starting the real work. And you will now see that the deliverable and milestones is growing. So the purpose is to create a body of work known as the business blueprint. And the business blueprint is what aligns the business requirements to the SAP business model. It is that what documents the to-be process models, so the to-be design, the design in the final system. It describes the solution designs, it identifies additional functional and technical requirements that might not have been known in the preparation phase as we started the project. And if, no matter if it's additional requirements or existing ones that's validated, we need to have a business sign off to the requirements and design. And the blueprint is dedicated to support the value delivery. So again here the value, what is it we want to achieve, what is the goals of the project. So this is what the blueprint needs to achieve. Deliverables, and again this is a summary. So we need to update our project plan as we go through the blueprint phase. We will do that repetitively in each phase. And we need to complete and document and sign off the business process hierarchy and design, value associated on process level, solution design, gap identification and resolution. And gap identification is between standard SAP and the business requirements. Solution landscape and architecture, assessment of organizational business process changes. This is a change management work stream, as well as we need to have a confirmation of the implementation date now that we know the design in more detail. Key decisions and milestones. So we need to definitely complete and sign off the process design, including the solution design. We need to complete and sign off gap identification and resolution. We need to do our quality assessment. This is from the previous phase. And we need to now start having our communication plan and execute our communication plan. Moving into realization. Again, we have a number of deliverables, milestone, and key decision that needs to happen. So the purpose of the realization is to build and test complete business and system environment. It is to develop the training material and end user documentation, and it is to obtain business approval of the solution that we are going to go live with. So the key deliverables, again, is a summary, is the test data and configuration. What is the test data we need, and we have the configuration. This is important, otherwise we can't do any testing. Business process procedures, this is where we document the business process and how the end users are going to use the business process. We need to have quality assurance system environment. This is where we are going to be ready for our testing. We need to have a production system environment. This is the final production environment. We need to develop and test interfaces, conversion, and reports. This is what is the customization of RISEF. Evaluate and enhance security and controls. End user training materials and plan. End user training system environment. We need a system where we can train, and we need to have the training plan and materials ready. We need to have a data conversion plan, and we need to have a user acceptance test done. So milestone and key decisions. So the project team trained for the next phase. So project team training is not a one-time exercise. Project team training is something that will happen throughout the phases as needed when we introduce new tasks and new deliverables. We need to have the final design and configuration done. We need to have done, planned, prepared, and performed our integration test, also known as system integration test. We need to have our end user system infrastructure done. User acceptance, we need to have done. Phase quality assessment and readiness review is closing off the realization phase, closing off the blueprint, as well as preparing for closing off the realization phase. Moving into the final preparation, now we're getting close to go live, and the final preparation is to prepare the final system for production release, as well as prepare the internal and external organization for go live. So the deliverables are to make sure the data is converted. We have a cutover plan. We are preparing the internal stakeholders and organization by making sure end users are trained. End users IDs are created. They have the right access. They're ready to go. System support organization is in place. That means help desk for functional as well as technical support. And we have the final operational production system in place. Milestone key decision, here we need to make sure that the organization is ready, so organizational changes are implemented, and we have the most critical of them all, a go no go decision. Assuming we have a go for go live, we now go into the go live and support phase, which the purpose is that the business now owns and executes the new business process, as well as support the systems. So the key task here for the business or for the project team is to monitor business process result, monitor productivity, production environment, and establish a center of excellence for support and further enhancements and improvement of the process. So the deliverables for go live and support. Of course, we need a live production environment. We need a help desk function. It can be a project team, it can be a dedicated help desk, but it needs to be an operational help desk in place. We need to have the cutover and conversion activities completed. Now, cutover is not finishing on the date of the go live. It normally goes in, depending on what process you're going live with, it will get over into the go live, and there is mechanisms in SAP as well as in the methodology on how to plan, execute, and control your cutover. Now, after go live, you might realize there's gaps in your training that you have delivered to the end users. So you might need to do post go live end user training, as well as you need to update the business case with what was the goal and the result we actually realized. And then, very important, record the lessons learned for future projects. Milestones, decisions. So we have a go live, that's the decision. We have a decision to close the project after the successful of the support. And why do we close the project before the operate? Because the operate phase is actually to run the implemented SAP solution. It is to operate the solution. And here you optimize the solution operation by implementing SAP operation standards. So assessment operation standards to optimize the solution operation. What is the scope? What is the project schedule for the implementation? Again, who is going to do it? How is it going to be done? What are the tools that you will need to operate your solution effectively and further improve it? Decisions. So you need to have an agreement and identification of the operation standards. You need to design, set up operation of the SAP operation standards, as well as if you decide to use certain tools, you need to implement those tools to ensure that they are in place. And most SAP solutions is using Solution Manager as the key tool in operating and supporting your SAP solution. It's not mandatory, but it is a valuable tool. We will later on look at the separately class, we'll look at the Solution Manager in detail. So with that walkthrough of the key deliverables and phases and decisions, all of that for each phase, we will do a summary. So after completing this video, you should have a good understanding of the ASAP phases, as well as the key deliverables in each of the ASAP phases as per the ASAP methodology.